This is so far past my normal content, but yesterday, two black men, were found hanging from trees in two different Mississippi towns. Miraculously, the police department in both towns have cut and dry closed this case and said it was self-inflicted. And if you don't have a lot of black people in your life screaming to the high heavens to pay attention to them, that they're in danger and that they're scared, I figured I would lend my white voice here and share a story about something I witnessed while I was living in the Deep South. I'm in marketing now, but before I was in marketing, I was a journalist, and it was my dream to write for local papers and to do citizens journalism and to experience life in other places. So I moved from New Jersey to a very rural town in Western Kentucky, right out of college. And at first, before I kind of got my feet wet, I was just your average community reporter. My second week on the job, I'm sent to cover this very small town parade at a small paper. This is mostly like a human interest story. It's something that you cover with a lot more pictures than text. I go down, this is like when I say tiny town, we're talking 5 miles by 5 miles, maybe a couple thousand people. The type of parade that includes a grand marshal who's 100 years old, a pageant winner, a couple farmers, on tractors, and the local marching band. Like, very small. I take some pictures. I interview the grand marshal of the parade for that year for some fluff stuff, and I decide I'm going to leave right as the parade is ending. And as I'm packing up my camera, I look over my shoulder, and around the corner at the very end of the parade comes about 10 men on horses, full head to toe Ku Klux Klan. Now, I'm from New Jersey. We grow up with understanding of the Klan, but you don't get this like very in-depth continuing education on the Klan. It is very much presented like, hey, this was a thing before and right after the Civil War, after the Civil Rights Act. It kind of petered out, and now it's like maybe quiet and secret, but nobody does. Like, no, there's no big sectors of the Klan anymore. Nope. These guys were on horseback. They would lift their hoods up and wave to their families. They were throwing out candy. No one batted an eye. And again, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm like, what is going on? I'm looking around like I'm in the Twilight Zone, and no one is ever, not a negative look in the entire parade. No one even questions it. And I'm just standing there kind of like, I run back to the newsroom and I start typing up a story. Klan makes appearance at local parade. I'm typing in what I saw. I'm like, just completely like shaking. I send it over to my editor, and he comes out and he says, hey, where's your story on the actual parade? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, listen, that's not news. He's like, that's not news here. No one would be surprised to read that. It is not news. It is, to our small town paper, that is very much common sense. He's like, reasonable people understand that the Klan is dangerous, but these aren't those people anymore. These are people that it's part of their family legacy. It's part of the legacy and the history of our town. This is not, news. So I was brand new. I had just moved 3,000 miles to live in this very small town. I just wrote the parade story and left it at that, and then told everybody at home what I had seen and treated it like this shock and awe moment. Over the next 4 years, I saw those men who had lifted their hoods up and waved to their families and who had friends in the audience. I saw those men own car dealerships, coach Pee-wee football. I saw them take off that robe and put on a sheriff's deputy uniform and patrol the town, screaming justice. I saw these people integrated into everyday life like it was nothing. I saw those men buy a 10 by 10 plot off of a farmer and raise a 60-foot Confederate flag right over the exit to this town on the highway. I saw these men, the same guys in that parade. I reported on a school shooting, and they were the first people at that school, 6 hours or less after those children had died, protesting their Second Amendment rights. I saw all of this before the first term of this current administration. Now imagine those hoods don't even have to go on, because it's okay to have that type of ideology out in the open. And it's infiltrated every single level of government, of the law, of judges, of county seats, everything. Every single part of a Black person in the South's lives is impacted by racism daily. So you're going to tell me there were two men in two different towns in Mississippi who were found hanging from trees and it's just a coincidence and they did it themselves, you guys can miss me with that.